everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World weekly series. I'm Becky, and I'll be your host. And today I'm coming to you with another Digital Nomad destination guide. This time we're going to be talking about Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands with my guest, Sanne Habets. Sanne, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm really happy to have you. And as I told you right before we started recording, this is the first time I've interviewed someone about a destination on this series that I have never been to myself. So I'm really excited to learn more about Gran Canaria.
Well, I'm excited to tell you everything about it.
Great. All right. So first of all, before we get into Gran Canaria, can you just tell us about your background and what brought you, how you ended up in Gran Canaria?
Well, that's a funny story. I think a lot of people can relate with that when they come on this island. So I came here almost 2 years ago for a week of holiday, and I really enjoyed my time here. And then I got back in Holland because I'm from Holland, and we got a second lockdown during the COVID period. And then I thought, hey, I can do my work remotely. So why don't I go back for a month of extra work in Gran Canaria? So that's what I did. And then I stayed an extra month, and then I flew back to the Netherlands again. And I missed the island, so I got back every single time. So yeah, that's a little bit the story about how I got on this island.
Amazing. So you are from the EU, based on what you've said about the Netherlands. So I guess it's easier to move over there if you're already from the EU. But was it generally pretty easy to move there?
Well, moving is a big sentence for me because I stay also a lot in Holland and in other countries. But my apartment is based in Spain, so that's good. But if you're an EU citizen, then it's easier to travel in Europe and to stay 6 months in another country. So without any changes for your life. I heard if you're from the UK or from out of the EU that it's more difficult because they are not allowed to stay that long. But yeah, there are other options as well. But yeah, for the EU, it's really easy actually.
Great. I'm American, and I do believe because the Canary Islands are part of Spain that we can only go there for a maximum of 90 days at once. And then we would have to leave the Schengen region for 90 days before we could re-enter if we were only going to Gran Canaria.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it's 3 months which you can stay, and then you need to leave the EU countries, and then you can come back again. So in total, I think it's 6 months for you as well, but then with a small break in between.
Yeah, I know it's important to keep that break in mind for people. They don't realize they can't just leave for a couple of weeks, come back, So, all right. So that talks about the visa situation a little bit for a lot of people. And then when you go onto the islands in Gran Canaria, once you get to Gran Canaria, is there anything that you should bring with you to make sure that you have it because it's difficult to find there? For example, like, is wine really expensive?
Yeah. It's a difficult question. I think the life here is it's an average which you need to pay for to live here. I think if I compare it to Holland, it's Holland is more expensive. Some other countries are more expensive to live in than in Spain, I guess. What would you bring? Well, that's a good question. I'm not a person which is really in love with material kind of things, but I love to have my pictures from my family and friends when I travel. I know you can have them on your phone, but for me, it's nice to just hang them somewhere. If it comes to materials, well, there are a lot of big stores here on the island to get your things. But yeah, I'm from Holland, so I really love the Dutch cookies, the stroopwafels. So when I travel back, I always bring them for my friends and people here. And when people are coming over, they always bring them. So I think something typically from your home country would be nice if you're going to miss that.
Yeah, I think that's normal. For an example, I lived in Japan for a while, another island chain, and they don't put fluoride in their toothpaste. And I grew up using fluoride in my toothpaste. So it was something I always had to make sure I got somewhere else and brought into the country. But yeah, lots of things from home too, for everyone. They're very sentimental. You want to make sure you have it. And islands, you always got to ask because it could be more difficult to get access to things. So
true, but we have big stores like IKEA and all those kind of things if you like that. But if you don't like that, yeah, then it's harder. But to ship something to this island, that's the only thing. It will take a while and it's expensive. So that's the only thing which is notable about having materials here.
Okay, good to know. So how about accommodation? We arrive in Gran Canaria. How can we find accommodation for both short term versus long term? Where would you suggest?
Well, I think it's good because on Gran Canaria, there's a big Slack group community in Las Palmas, in the capital on this island. And there are a lot of different channels in it, where you can ask some questions about housing or restaurants or events, or there's even a marketplace to trade materials with each other. So I think it's good to, as soon as you arrive, for me, for example, I booked an Airbnb the first 2 periods. So I got to know the area a little bit. So I live in the south of Gran Canaria, and most of the remote workers are living in Las Palmas in the north. So that's a difference also. So I just wanted to get along with the area. Where do I feel nice? Where are the good shops? What vibe do I like? Because also a lot of tourists are coming here, and now I moved to a local place. It's more Spanish, and I really, really like that vibe. So I would recommend to go first for a month or two on Airbnb or a housing somewhere or co-living. Because I think that's good to get to know the area. And as soon as you think, okay, this is maybe nice to live longer term, you can go on an app called Idealista. A lot of people are going there for rentals and to buy property also. Airbnb, of course. And we have some nice co-livings. So the community I was mentioning is Live It Up Las Palmas.
I like it.
And
live it up.
Yeah, it's really nice. There's also a new one in Las Palmas, which we attended last week. Remote Pueblos. And then in Agaete, they have another one, and that's with living also included. So yeah, it's really good.
Nice. Okay, so remote pueblos, like villages in Spanish.
Yeah, that's in Las Palmas. Yeah.
Okay, great. And can you also provide the link to the Slack channel?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can.
I know those are always hard to find when you're first thinking about getting somewhere, but that sounds really helpful.
Yeah, there are so many people in it, and it's really a living community with a lot of tips. And if you have questions about coming to the island or housing or healthcare, or all those questions are in the Slack channels, or somebody answered them, or somebody asked that question before you. So that's good.
Yeah, that's great. Now, how about driving? Is it necessary to get a car for Gran Canaria?
Oh, that's a good question, because it's depending on your own behavior, I guess. So to drive from north to south is 45 minutes max. So it's not that far. For me, I live in the south, so I think it's necessary to have a car because I love to do hiking and go into the mountains. And then you need to have a car because sometimes it's not accessible with the bus. But for example, a lot of people live in Las Palmas, and they love to just go around with a bike there, or just stay in the city because that's their life. But I think it's depending on what kind of things you like. But if you want to go around the island, then a car is definitely a must. Yeah.
How about a scooter? I know in a lot of digital nomad places, especially on islands, you have people riding scooters. Is that the same case here?
Yeah, you see them a lot. Yeah, it's the same as biking. You see them a lot especially with the scooters, because yeah, you can easily hire them, of course, and a lot of people driving that. If you go into the mountains, maybe it's a little slower when you go up, but it's just whatever you feel like, it's good. But you see it happening, so it still works. So that's a nice thing, I guess.
Yeah, you've just said with going up to the mountains, I had this vision of being on a motorcycle or a scooter and the rain coming down. So I want to ask about the weather. What is the weather like in Gran Canaria? When are the best times to go during the year?
Well, I think the best period is now October till, let's say, March. But that's a personal opinion because I love like 27 degrees during the day and 23 in the night. But in summer it's really hot. It can be 38 degrees. So a lot of people also like that. So I think it's a difference. What do you experience? I know that a lot of people will come in the winter season because then the other countries in Europe are colder, underneath 20 degrees, some are 0 degrees. So then a lot of people come to the Canary Islands and to Gran Canaria. So I would recommend October till March somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I know that like around here in Lisbon, where I am, a lot of people talk about going to the Canary Islands also for
Yeah.
winter. And it's those
Yeah, and it
temperatures, they
can,
sound pretty good.
yeah, exactly. And of course, we also have some days of rain, especially in the mountains. It can rain here also. And we have sometimes the Kalima, so that's more the wind from Africa side. And it can be hot, but overall, we have a very good temperature here because that's why we live here, of course.
All right, great. Well, I now want to ask about one of my favorite topics, which is food. What are the
Ooh.
different options in Gran Canaria? What do you recommend?
Well, you can find all kitchens here, all international kitchens. So let's say that's good. The Spanish people love to have food, and I love to have food and drink also. So I like the Spanish foods typically, like the pimientos de padrón. So that's the vegetables, the potatoes, queso frito. So that's cheese which they fried. Everything is really good actually. But they have so many good restaurants that sometimes it's just not easy to make a decision when you go out for dinner or for lunch. So I think one of my favorites is close to my place here in San Fernando. That's a Spanish tapas place. It's called El Picoteo, and that's really nice because it's run by Spanish people, and it's just like a good vibe, like the Spanish really vibe, like the dark tables, and yeah, it's really nice. I really love it.
Okay, I'm really getting hungry now from all this. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that Spain has a reputation in general for great food. I didn't know if that had also migrated over to the Canary Islands. But I imagine there's also like digital nomads. A lot of them will go to brunch and, they want
Yeah.
their coffees. Is there also like a nice coffee scene in Gran Canaria, brunch scene, all of those things?
Yeah, I think, of course, everyone's drinking coffee here. I'm not a coffee lover, but I drink a lot of tea, not in summer, but usually I do. And so there are a lot of options to go for lunches or brunches, especially on a Sunday. You can feel they have in Gran Canaria, they have some public areas like in parks where you can have a barbecue, where you can go with family and friends. And you see that the Spanish families do that a lot on a Sunday in the weekends. So they just take a bunch of food and drinks and they go to a park or near a forest or a picnic place. And that makes, I don't know, it feels like a bigger community somehow. And it makes it really nice to sometimes do that yourself as well. So 2 weeks ago, my parents were here and we went for a picnic and at one of those places. And it's such a nice vibe.
Oh, that's great. And you also mentioned hiking. You love to go hiking. What are some other great things to do on the weekends or when you take a day trip in Gran Canaria?
Well, don't forget the beaches, the playas here. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, we have a lot here. So, well, I'm really an outdoor person, so I'm very active if it comes to playing paddle and golf and sometimes tennis. But I also love to go to the beach just to have some relaxing time, just to have a swim in the ocean and feel the fresh breeze. So yeah, I think that's really nice to do in the weekends. You can also go out and go for drinks and dinners. That's what we also do a lot. But yeah, you can just do a mix of things. And I think the difference is, and that's one of the reasons why I like to live in Spain, is to enjoy the outdoors more because I felt in the Netherlands I was 9 out of 10 times in winter I was inside.
Yeah, no, that would make such a difference in your life. I can see that.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah. So, do they also, I imagine they have like scuba diving and snorkeling and a lot of these water sports as
Yeah,
well. And,
yeah, you can do a lot of activities here. You can go for aloe vera trip. There we have some farms here, or you can go on an excursion into the mountains, or you can visit some nice local markets on Sunday morning or other days. So there's so many things you can do here. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. There are so many options.
oh, that's great. Now, I live in Lisbon and the water temperature here is very cold all year round. What is it like in Gran Canaria if you go to the beach?
Yeah, well, it changes here also, of course, but you can still go into the ocean now. So, because it's still during the day,
Oh,
it's 27 degrees, so it's perfect to go into the water. I'm not sure what kind of water temperature we have at the moment, but I can still go in, so that's a good thing in October, I guess.
it sounds warmer. I'll check it out, but that's encouraging.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just come by.
okay. And so we mentioned some co-living spots. I wanted to ask about co-working. Are there any famous or really popular co-working spots on Gran Canaria?
Yeah, so we have in Las Palmas, they have a bunch of. So when I share the link for the Slack channel, there's also a post about all the different kind of places. So a lot of people are mentioning some really like to go to a co-working space, and other people they like to go to a bar or a tiny restaurant which is open to work during the day. So it's depending on what you like. For example, I work a lot from home, and sometimes I go to an office from a friend of mine, just to be more focused. I'm focused at home as well, but it's more sometimes good to go out somewhere. I also love to meet up with other remote workers. So once in a month, we just meet up for a small business meetup to discuss, for example, a topic. But then it's nice to just have a coffee or a drink and to discuss some daily issues everyone has working remotely or with your business. So it's depending, I guess, what would you prefer? But there are good working spaces, but there are also nice bars and restaurants where you can work digitally.
From what you're saying, it sounds like there's a really good community of digital nomads in Gran Canaria.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of people know that. First, when I came here, I also didn't know. And then somehow I got connected with somebody who knew about that community. You see a difference also in the south and in the north, because in the north, people, more digital nomads are living in Las Palmas, for example, or in that area. And in the south, we are with a smaller group, but still a lot of people are living here as well. So, but it's really nice to connect. And if you don't want to connect, that's also okay. But you have the opportunity, and a lot of events are being hosted by different people. So there's always something to attend. So I never had the feeling that I was bored here at all.
I really love that. It's also a reason I moved to Lisbon. So I'm encouraged to hear there's other vibrant communities out there and not so far away. I'll have to visit perhaps, Sanne.
Yeah.
You're selling this to me. Okay, so now the obvious question, why do you like living in Gran Canaria and why would you recommend this city as a great destination?
Yeah. Well, like I said before, I love being outdoors, and that was one of my main reasons. And when I just came on this island, I don't know, I just felt there's a good energy over here, and everyone is really open for people who work remotely. Everyone's really helpful if you have questions. Even the Spanish people, the local people, they're very nice, especially when you try to speak Spanish. I'm going to Spanish class here locally, so I'm trying. But you see a difference. It's really nice to blend into that community of digital nomads, but also of the local people. And I don't know, I just feel at home here, so that makes it easy, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean good weather and the warmth of the people, that is just that's those are reasons enough to stay, I think.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And when you pair that with having a great community, it's even better.
Yeah, then you feel embraced, and then you feel also, yeah, you can just plan your week however you feel like. So if you don't feel like going out, you don't. And if you want, then you're able to meet people. And that, I think that's good. That freedom and that openness, that's really nice to have.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that Spain is generally cheaper than the Netherlands, but we haven't really talked about price yet. Would you say, how are the prices there? I don't know if you spent time in Southeast Asia, where a lot of people go as digital nomads, but how are the prices?
Well, I've been in Asia before, but I'm not sure how to compare that, especially not after COVID, and after the war and all the things which are happening. So it has a lot of influence on prices, of course. So I can only say that now at the moment, I can feel, okay, prices are going up here as well, because I think everywhere, I think it's still payable if you compare it, for example, with the Netherlands or another country in Europe. But yeah, I think everyone needs to be aware that things are getting more expensive. So for example, if you take a taxi here, yeah, usually something was €5 and now it's suddenly almost a double. So I'm not mentioning that everything went up, but everything went up a little, and you can just feel that, and you can see that in all the countries as well. So it's hard to say something specifically, because for me it's still good to be here. But for example, you're from the US, you said, right?
Yeah.
It's really expensive in the US if you compare it to Spain. It's maybe the three double amount of price you pay for groceries than you pay here, for example. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons I moved to Lisbon and out of the US as well. If it's hard to make ends meet in some parts of the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about the Wi-Fi situation there? Is it good and strong? Any issues that you have?
No, it's very good actually. I know that the government really is investing in making sure that the companies, especially on the islands, are doing a good job with that, because they really encourage remote workers to come here. There's also a digital nomad visa, which you can request. I'm not sure how that works because it's new since January, and it's still a little, okay, how does it work? Because not a lot of people applied for it yet. But they really encourage that. So they want to be good in their facilities and especially good in their Wi-Fi. So I never had any problems. At home, I really have a good Wi-Fi. I can upload a lot. I can download things. So it's really good. That's also one of the reasons why I came here, because I Googled it before. Okay, where are nice places to work remotely in the Canary Islands? Well, Tenerife, I already been like 4 or 5 times before when I was younger. And yeah, and I thought I'd go back to Gran Canaria. I've been here before years ago, and I thought, oh, they have good Wi-Fi, they have good places to work remotely, they have a community. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so why did you choose Gran Canaria over, let's say, some of the other islands or locations in the Canary Islands?
Well, I think for remote working, I think there are two big options. That's Tenerife or Gran Canaria. The other islands are more, there are less people living there and less remote workers, I guess. Probably you will have them also, but not that I'm aware of. And Tenerife, I already been 4 or 5 times in the past, and I thought Gran Canaria only been once. So I thought I'd just go back to Gran Canaria then, because I didn't knew that island that good as I knew Tenerife. So I think both of them have advantages. Some people say, oh, Tenerife is more green. Yeah, true. In basis, Tenerife is green, but the island here, and that really surprised me, has like 4 different landscapes on one island. The south is really dry, the north is really green, and the middle is a mix of both. So you, from the Scottish Highland to the dry desert, it just has everything. So that really surprised me. I didn't know that before.
Okay, now I'm really getting sold for Gran Canaria, because that sounds like you can, you feel like you're traveling the world without leaving the island.
Yeah. Well, also a lot of people, and that's also what I would like to mention, is it is an island, so it's small. And I think for me, it really works that I travel a lot, also to the Netherlands, but also to other countries. So that really works because then you're going to long back to the island. And I think that's a good combination. I'm not sure how it is if you stay here forever and never leave this island. I don't know. Maybe then it starts to be a little small, but as soon as you can still do some holidays or work trips, or I think you're good on this island.
Okay, I think that might be true also for many islands around the world, no matter how great they
Yes.
are. Like, I need to get island fever. Okay, so an important question, but one I haven't asked yet is safety. The safety factor. I mean, especially we're woman to woman here, like we always think about it when we go somewhere. How safe is Gran Canaria?
Wow. Well, nobody ever asked me that question, so that's an interesting one. But I feel really safe. I never had one moment that I felt unsafe here. Never. It's interesting. Maybe I don't know how it is in the city, of course. I've been there a couple of times also in the night. I also never felt unsafe there. I can tell about the south that there are a lot of people on the streets in the night, but also sometimes there's nobody when it's late, but I never felt unsafe. I always walk sometimes by myself or with other people. No, I don't feel that. Maybe because it's an island, if you do something, then they will find you anyway. No.
That's true. You can't just leave like right away. Oh,
No,
wow.
I don't know if
Well,
that's the case, but no, I think it's really safe, and there's a lot of police like patrolling just to show them, and I think that's a good thing. You can see them, and you just feel safe. They take care of you.
that's really great to hear. All right. Well, my final question before we go today is how
Yes.
easy is it to connect with the locals of Gran Canaria?
Ooh. Yeah, well, that's an interesting one because in the beginning I had a lot of international friends here, and now I live in a local place, so it's easier to blend in the local community because my neighbors know me now and they're Spanish, for example, So it's different. I'm not sure how it's in Las Palmas because there are a lot of international people there. But I would recommend if you want to be in the local community, then go and live in a village because then you blend in quickly. It's of course, I'm not sure how easy it is and if it's different in every village, how they embrace you. But here where I live, they know that there are a lot of international people. And like I said, if you try to do your best to speak Spanish or to blend in, then yeah, it will be fine. It will be really easy also.
Yeah, I can see that even in like Lisbon, where I live, there's a lot of international people, but you can go to a neighborhood in the north of the city and suddenly everybody speaks Portuguese to you because,
Yeah.
that's what they're used to. So yeah, it really makes a difference with the language for sure.
Yeah, it's here also. Yeah, if you go to a small village, then no English, of course not. Why would they? It's their home. So that's what I'm saying. If you can adjust and if you try, then and you show that you're willing to get to know the country, to get to know the environment, then you will be fine.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much today, Sanne, for sharing this information with us. And is there anything else that you would like to share before we go?
Yeah, thank you as well. Yeah, try just to live your life and business with guts, because it's too short to keep doubting and, oh, maybe I have to travel, maybe I have to do this, or just go because making these decisions are not easy, because I know that from my experience, but it comes from the heart. And if you do the things from your heart, then yeah, you will feel at home somewhere very quickly. So yeah.
That's such great advice. If people want to follow you, where can they go?
Oh, they can go to my Instagram account to Boom and Business, and I can leave my personal contact info with you, and then they can find it there as well.
We will do that. We will put the link in our description. So look out for that, listeners and viewers. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sanne. You have convinced me. I'm going to go to Gran Canaria. It'd be great if I could do it this year, but definitely by next year.
Well, we're waiting for your visit.
Thank you, and have a lovely
Thank
day.
you.